think. And well, this is your time to tell us why you want to be on a board and commission. And believe me, you're part of the foundation that makes this city work. So it's very important to us. So you want to call the first one, Kathy?
Stacy Wilson, please.
We got your application, but a little bit why, and we may or may not ask you questions.
Oh, I like the questions. I've been serving, representing the city of Kent for the PARTA board for the last 3 years. Great board, doing great stuff at PARTA, just upgraded all the systems on all the buses and their IT infrastructure. And they're currently doing a study to see about changing the routes because they're just running their traditional routes. Maybe those don't really work for us anymore. Lots of great stuff. And additionally, I even bring my scouts. I'm a scout leader, and I bring my scouts to help them with their Stuff the Bus project every year. So community involvement.
Is this your second term you're running for? Or?
Yeah, second term. And I still
Is there anything we ought to know about Barter? I'm just kidding.
No, they're really well, like surprisingly, amazingly well run. And when Claudia retires, like, I don't know, we might be doomed.
Yeah. Jack and I were out there today. Gwen, question?
Yeah, hi. Thank you so much for reapplying. My only question was if there was something that you had a goal that you'd like to see accomplished during your next go round on the PARTA board, if there's something you're looking forward to seeing changed or accomplished during that next term.
Well, redoing the routes, because I know I have personally tried to ride the bus to work, but I can't because I was working inpatient at Akron General and the bus couldn't get me there in time. Healthcare starts at 7 a.m. Most ships do, and the buses can't get people to 7 a.m. shift time. So maybe, things like that, things that they could look into. And with the new software they have, they can tell where people who don't have cars, as many one car households, where they live, where they're going, and just shift things around more to make it a little more usable for everyone.
Great, thank you.
Anyone else have any questions? Guess not.
All right.
We'll vote in 2 weeks, which is the 18th, 19th. So, Jack and I were out there for your 50th anniversary today. And
yeah, I couldn't make it. They don't let me out of work. It's really a pain.
It was phenomenal. Claudia does a tremendous job out there.
Absolutely tremendous job.
So, hey, thank you for applying.
Great. Thank you.
And that is all that we have. One of them is in Puerto Rico. As for the others, I don't know.
So there's none of the other applicants here.
Does not appear so.
We'll close that part of the meeting and wait 6:55 for board and control. Clerk read the roll.
Mr. Amrine,
Here.
Ms. Selka,
Here,
Mr. Clapper,
Here.
Mr. De Leon,
Here.
Mr. Hook,
Here.
Ms. Rosenberg,
Here.
Ms. Schaefer Bish,
Here.
Mr. Sidoti,
Here.
Mr. Turner.
Mr. Turner has to be excused. He's a little ill, so I need a motion to excuse. Second by. I'm sorry. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign, we're going to discuss the 2025 Community Housing Impact and Preservation Program. And Bridget, you're standing there, so I guess I don't have anything on my paper tonight.
thank you, Mayor. I would like to know who else ever does a public hearing.
Is that mic on?
Maybe Rhonda. Yeah, I think so. Can you hear me?
Right.
Yeah. This is a public hearing for the city of Kent to apply for Community Housing Impact and Preservation, also known as CHIP program, housing rehabilitation funding through the state of Ohio. The city is eligible for up to $250,000, and we use it for owner-occupied, single-family rehabilitation projects.
Any questions from the audience? Tina, public hearing, sure. Get right into council committee meetings, committee of the whole. First thing on is changes to Civil Service Commission language, and Hope, you're gonna share that.
Yes. The Civil Service Commission was asked to take a look at both the police and fire chief positions and how they are appointed. And they have recommended unanimously that in the police department that the position of chief of police be opened up to outside members instead of just inside the force. And in the fire department, I spoke to the chief there, and he indicated that he liked the way that promotions have been done, and he wanted to keep his in-house. We also asked both for police and fire if the committee, when Chief Samuels was appointed, we went to civil service and we said, hey, don't just give a what do you call that? Assessment center where outside people come in. We asked them if they would allow Dave to have 10% of the total examination. They said yes. I think that both Chief Samuels and the other applicant, as well as Dave, liked that process. So we asked Civil Service to put that in permanently for both police and fire departments so that Dave can continue to interview and have at least a little bit of say.
Any other questions? Roger?
Well, we're not saying Dave specifically. We're saying the city managers.
Sure, yes.
Okay.
No, we're going to bring Dave back forever.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Roger? Heidi?
Yeah, so why was 10% determined? I mean, was it 100% civil service test previously, but then just 10%? I mean, if you're going to change it, maybe consider increasing the power of that interview.
And I'm not saying this about Dave, but I think what you need to do, if let's say you put it at 50 and 50, we could get a civil service or a city manager in here that has a real agenda with his department, or maybe he's buddies. We didn't want to.
Mhm.
It really is you, Dave. We didn't want to give the interview process too much percentage, because the assessment process, I think, is really thorough, and it's done by outside people who don't know any of the candidates, and they like that better. And I also looked at a couple of, I think, well, when I was in Beechwood, the mayor got 10% of the process. And there was another community, I think they gave 5% to.
Melissa?
So is there language that we're gonna see, or we don't have to approve the language? Was that in our packet and I missed it?
Was it? Because I missed it too.
Yeah, just to,
Oh, no, I think she means the actual language
Yeah,
that would go in the
yeah.
civil service.
yeah. Because I'm not that familiar with civil service, hiring or anything like that. So as a relatively new council person, it'd be helpful to actually see it in writing so I could understand a little bit better. Is that something we could get?
Absolutely. I can get it out early next week. I'm gonna
Because we're
jury.
not gonna vote on it until
Right,
in
right.
2 weeks anyway.
Absolutely,
So
because
yeah.
I already had it drafted. I don't know why I didn't attach it
That's
to
fine.
my
thank you.
No.
Appreciate it.
Other questions? You know, does anybody from the audience have anything on this? Not back to council? I think we're looking for a
I'd move
motion,
to approve with emergency.
Second.
second. Heidi. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same signs. Okay, the second item is community engagement officer, Dominic.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
You have some bright colored papers in front of you. I just wanted to give you a quick update on some things that you'll be seeing the city doing this year that is new. We are going to be starting some summer movie nights. It's going to be a new program that we'll be doing that is going to the neighborhood parks. So this is in collaboration with Parks and Rec. We're going to have representation from our police and fire and health departments as well at these. You can see all the dates, the times, and all that information is going to be on there. We've been pushing it on our socials, partnering with the library and the schools to get that out there to families. This is going to be family friendly, so we're very excited for that. Please join us, especially if it's a park in your ward. We'd love to have your face there. We also have a new program called the Community Beautification Program. So you'll see the white piece of paper. We're gonna have a little committee that's gonna select 4 homes or it could be a business, private property, that is chosen to be the beautiful yard of the month. And they'll get that staked in their yard for the month, and we'll do a little shout out for them here at council at the second council meeting of the month. So we'll be starting that in July. So that's very exciting. And if you know anyone who you want to nominate, we'll have some flyers for that. You can email me that. We'll be emailing that out. And then lastly, we are so excited still to be celebrating this beautiful building that you guys did. Next council, June 18th, we will be doing a ribbon cutting. So obviously you will all be invited. The community is going to be invited. We'll be inviting like the architectures, builders to come and celebrate with us. So that is going to be right before council at 6:30. And then flash forward to July at Heritage Fest, we're going to have open house here from 11 to 2. We're going to be doing tours on the hour. So we would love to have your representation there as well, to either just be a smiling face, or if you want to help give tours to your building, we'd love to have you. You can connect with me on that if you have a specific time if you want to come. So those are fun things that we're doing. Does anyone have any questions about those things? Okay, cool. But I am going to be requesting to not go over $1,000 to purchase supplies for those 2 community open houses for the 18th and for Heritage Fest. And that's gonna include snack type thing, like light snacks, water, especially for Heritage Fest since it's a hot day. And some giveaway items that we want people to have to remember this monumental time.
Is that it?
It's it.
Is there a motion for that $1,000, Heidi?
have a question.
Oh, a question?
Yeah, so, this may not be directly associated with the open house, but I'm wondering, are we going to be able to have city flags available for
To
sale?
purchase?
Yeah,
We do. We have a link, someone on the flag committee, someone on the flag committee, he found a place called Flags for Good that's totally out of house, so we don't have to deal with that, honestly. And it's gonna be a consistent flag, so if we're sending out, and this is something we've talked about, we have a consistent flag being sent out into the world. So it's called Flags for Good. We can send that link out if we haven't yet.
that would be nice, and also maybe a handout for Heritage Fest.
For people, like maybe a QR code, what about that? Or an actual handout?
Yeah, I mean, QR code, I
We can
guess
do
would
both.
be
We
okay.
can do both. That's cool.
You know, maybe even just a little handout, just
Yeah.
with a link and, you know, because when we sit and talk to people, people have, you know, it'd be nice to give people an opportunity to purchase a flag,
Absolutely.
you know.
Yeah.
Not, it drives business to the website.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
Mayor, can I just add a little bit, just so I appreciate Dom's work in getting some of this stuff started. Since I started, so that's been a long time, I've talked about, I really want to not just do the negative side where we enforce properties that look bad. I want to celebrate and elevate those properties that look good. And we're hopeful that, you know, we'll try to be across all, you know, big house, little house, small house, whatever, you know, we try to like get the full gamut, maybe even a rental house. I mean, there are certain rentals that can look good, and we want to lift them up and say, this is what we would love all our rentals to be. So I know it's kind of a stepping out a little bit for us, a little different thing in this yard. You get the thing to place in your yard for, what do we say, like a month or something?
Mhm.
And I will tell you, this is a program that's actually run nationally by Keep America Beautiful. We don't have a Keep Kent Beautiful chapter, but in my last city they had it. I have to tell you, at the start of the meeting, council would, like Dom's position would say, hey, here's this month's award winners. It's 304 West whatever, and notice the lovely treatment of the rock garden, and then this and that, and the people would be in the audience, and typically they're, you know, we have these, we can print a certificate that says, you know, award winner, and then we all clap, and it's a real feel good. I've always felt like, you know, we've talked a lot about how do you connect to your community and engage your residents. Well, this is like a small thing, but I think it adds up, and that's the same with the movie concept. Yes, it's sort of stepping outside the box for the city, but part of what we're trying to do is build that network and connectivity into the neighborhoods. You know, we're hoping someday some of this leads to neighborhood ambassadors, people that kind of like become our point contacts. And what better way to find them than these kind of family events in the neighborhood? So that's a theme I think you'll see across all the work. That's very much what Dom's position is to do. So we're excited. We're going to take small baby steps first. And I say baby steps, but she's been working on it for a while. Nothing's easy, right? Like, well, how do you do the film, and what's the copyright issues, and okay, we have to pay for this and the screen, and how are we going to do it? And Angela, I think, has helped. So thank you, Angela. So please be thinking, if you have like a neighborhood group or, you know, chat threads, be sure to let them know that this is something that we have available. And I can't guarantee weather, but if we get a good weather night, what a nice way to spend an evening and families in the park with a movie. So anyways, thank you, Dom, for getting it started. And like she did say, we have typically in the past, like at Halloween and other, the college parties, when we had a lot of staff extra from other jurisdictions come in, we would ask your approval to spend up to $750 to provide food and drinks for those mutual aid people. This is the same concept with the up to $1,000. I don't know. We just feel like nothing extravagant, like she said, just kind of basic stuff, that light refreshment kind of things. So
What budget would that come out of?
we talked about it.
Does she have a budget?
She has a budget. And I can't remember how we landed it because we've had a couple things we've talked about and Rhonda too. So whether we need a new appropriation, but yeah, we've got it figured out.
All right, is there a motion? Chris made the motion.
I'll second.
Second, any more discussion? Chris, you,
I think this is a great idea. Love the creativity, love the family friendliness. Better around distracting people watching the movie. I love that you're scattering kind of the movies around different parks. You can get Chadwick Park. I love that park. It's just a few blocks from us and way underutilized. So I think it's a good chance to show how some of these small parks that you don't see off the road are useful. And the beautification is great. I think it's a great way to signal what we want to see, right, rather than what we don't want to see. And I hope that maybe we can consider, doing a ward by ward beautification award. I'd love to see some of the rentals highlighted in Ward 4. Anyway, there's lots of creative ideas can spring out of this. So back to you.
when?
Yeah, I just want to say just two things real quick. I love both of these ideas. It's on my time on council, it's very easy for council to come up with more rules and regulations and more punitive measures for just about anything. And it's really nice to see the opposite, to see a carrot, like, hey, this is beautiful, this is great. And to encourage people. I know the Record Courier used to do, a garden contest, and they would publish the pictures in the newspaper, and no big deal, but like my husband won one year for a vegetable garden. But it's a really big deal, it's meaningful. So, and especially recognizing people, they put a tremendous amount of effort into it. So the idea of recognizing it, and I think is wonderful. And then secondly, I've heard several times over the last couple of months, people talking about finding community or looking for their community. And I don't recall hearing that so much as in the past. So I think with the family movie night, I think it actually fills a niche that I'm hearing more about. People are looking for ways to connect, and this is a fantastic, easy way to do it. And I really appreciate the effort you put into it. Thank you.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Anything, you got it? That's it for committee. Community development, Gwen?
Yes, so we've got the program year 2025 Community Housing Impact and Preservation Grant application. And here comes Bridget now with that information. Thank you.
I walk, I still have my waitress walk. Seems far. Yeah, so we are going to be applying. June 25th is the submission date for the CHIP grant application. I will let you know that typically this comes out in February. However, it was released May 6th. So we're on an accelerated calendar. The state has transitioned to a new reporting program. So this, of course, does not serve me well while we're moving to our permitting system, but I am going to get this grant in because this rehab program is utilized. We actually are on a wait list. We get 250,000, that's the cap for a city our size, and rehabs are averaging between 85 and 95. So we don't get to do many houses, but we do substantive improvements from basement to roof. And we were with the last CHIP funding, we did receive some loan repayments. So we were actually able to do 5 properties in conjunction with 3 with grant funds, 2 with revolving loan funds, and we assisted 9 people in 5 different households throughout the whole city. So I'm here to ask for permission to submit, and if we receive it, appropriation of those funds.
Sounds good. All right. Other questions from council? All right. Seeing none, are there any questions from the audience? Okay. Back to council for a motion
Move to approve.
with
With
emergency.
emergency. With emergency.
Okay. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. Thanks, Bridget.
Okay, moving on to finance committee, Mr. DeLeo.
Good evening. I requested time to come and speak in front of you, just to bring everybody up to speed on what we've been working on with our master plan projects and implementing those in the community, as well as the needs of our other capital improvement projects. So you guys are familiar with the master plan results, and I know you've seen top priorities listed that the community kind of gave their input into. And I know I've been asked a couple of times by many of you up here about what the status of some of those projects are. So we've been working on a 5-year plan. We've prioritized the projects by year. And it's broken down into 7 categories. And the categories are paving, sealing and resurfacing, building renovations and repairs, boardwalk renovations and repairs, park amenity improvements and repairs, playground replacements and repairs, equipment, and miscellaneous. So we've also included in this plan dollars to go towards annual maintenance costs, such as the things that I just named, and those are highlighted in blue. Those are numbers that would be put into this 5-year plan every year, because we know those are costs that we're going to incur on an annual basis. And those are also, some of those are for safety measures and preventative, such as we added things as annual tree trimming and removal. As most of you know, being the tree city, we have hundreds and hundreds of trees in our parks, and they have all aged so much at this point that we really need to go in on an annual basis and assess those trees and take care of those accordingly, so that we don't have any limbs falling and don't have trees tipping over in storms, things like that. Currently, this also includes several larger scale projects which were in the Brandstatter master plan. Those are highlighted in red. Those are the numbers in red. Those were in the plan as well. Right now, our budgeted expenses for the current year total about 2.4 million. And we currently have 4 property tax levies, and they are bringing in the same amount of money as they did when they were in the year that they were passed. They've never increased. We don't get additional revenue from those each year. And those bring in revenue of about 1.2 million. So to make up that additional gap, we charge user fees for our programs through registration fees, rental fees for our pavilions and our facilities, sponsorships, donations, and grants, just to name a few. And that's really, those are the main sources of our revenue for the department. So in order to increase the amount of revenue that we have control over on our end, we really are limited to increasing user fees. But being in this community, we're very mindful that we, A, do not price ourselves with the surrounding communities. So we're always mindful of what other places are charging for the same services. And B, we want to keep things affordable for the residents of Kent. So we are limited somewhat in what we can charge without, bless you, without putting too much on the participants of our programs and the users of our facilities. So that is causing us to drain our fund balance. And that's kind of where we are today. So this document is really the beginning framework of a plan to start talking about sustainable funding in the future so that we can attain the goals that are listed in this document in a responsible way. Been having conversations with the city manager and the budget and finance director, and we're trying to strategically come up with a plan where this can be implemented, where we have the funding that we need to accomplish the things in that master plan and all of our ongoing maintenance needs and repairs as well. So I'm not asking for anything this evening, but I wanted to bring everyone up to speed with where we're at with this plan and with this list and with the dollars associated with a lot of these projects, because I think some of these projects, people would be surprised at really the cost of these projects. And a lot of these are based on a lot of the surrounding communities and areas that have just recently completed these projects. So we definitely kind of combined all of those and figured out for our purposes in Kent what an average cost would be. And of course, those would be zeroed down a little bit more to the exact dollars and cents when we decide to move forward with any of these programs or when we're able to. And we actually hire design firms to come up with those numbers.
Questions?
So, how aggressive will you be in as far as going after grant funding?
As we come up with grants that are available to us, we apply. I mean, there's never for sure, I guess, guarantee that we will be awarded those grants, but any grant that we can, we go for it. We've been successful in the last couple of years with some pretty big grants too. I think we $150,000 for our child care centers. So we were able to purchase a lot of supplies, a lot of new equipment, and we were able to renovate the recreation center on Franklin Avenue.
Further?
Wanting to make sure, and you can offset then some of these costs, maybe bump up like we do with our overall capital plan. You can maybe bump up something that's in the next year if we get grant funding for something.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's a kind of a living document, right?
Correct. Yep, it sure is.
Roger?
Yeah, Angela, first of all, thank you for the great seeing this on paper. It gives us an understanding, and the transparency of what you're up against is pretty clear. I want to make sure I understand this. So your needs are basically 2.3 million. Is that based on what it's been costing in the past years, or is that based on an average over the last 5 years, or based on projections over the next? What's that $2.3 million? Is that a pretty fixed cost? That you,
So are you looking at, I'm sorry.
Well, you had said that your operating budget is 2.3 million.
That is those are the expenses, the recommended budget that was passed for 2025.
Okay, that was your recommended budget.
Yes.
And you indicated that you basically receive about 1.2 million in tax revenue. So you're shy about 1.1 million. Have you been able to raise that amount of money through fees and to at least break even over the years?
We have been, but we are, as our expenses and our personnel costs are going up, and we are not collecting any additional revenue. Our revenue is not increasing. That gap is starting to form.
Would you agree that as that gap continues to form, I see some high ticket items here in the next 3 or 4 years, that there really wouldn't be any additional dollars to even begin to address some of those. Would that be a true statement, a correct statement?
True.
Okay, so that's part of what the discussion is about, how you might fill that gap.
Yes.
As it gets bigger and bigger here in the next 4 or 5 years. Would
Yes.
that be a fair statement?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
it is.
Very good, thank you.
Hey, Angel. So I have some questions. So I was part of the Grant Sitter Carroll kind of plan and kind of some of those discussions. It was really interesting. It kind of felt like it had like a strategic feel to it, like a future planning feel to it. A lot of this looks like maintenance and repairs, which are necessary, but not necessarily sexy. Not that dog park is really sexy. It's kind of a bad term, I guess. But for the things, the items that I see that are new, are the pickleball courts, the dog park, and the splash pad. But the 3 of them are to be determined. Is that to be determined because there has, like, I guess, why is it to be determined, and what can you tell us about it, and how can we then know what the cost estimate could be if it hasn't been determined
The
yet?
to be determined is in the location column. So the location is to be determined. So there were recommended locations for some of these items that we disagreed with in the master plan recommendations. There was a splash pad that was placed in Fred Fuller, in the middle of Fred Fuller. There was a dog park that was placed in Fred Fuller. And those are things, two items, just to give examples, where we feel we have land that would be much better suited locations for something like each of those projects.
Okay, so do you, is there an evaluation on the land that is more suitable, or like when would we be able to like expect?
So
to
if
see
we
that?
had the funding and we knew we had that funding going into a specific year, then we've built in design costs in here, and that's when we would have to hire an outside firm to come in and do those assessments.
Okay, so for the splash pad in 2028, is that realistic if it's 2025 now, that in 3 years we could have a location and a design and a budget for it? Or is it like, is it fluid that you're thinking these things might move around?
Any of these can move around. I mean, and I know working with 5-year plans in my past experience, there are things that, you know, maybe are planned 2 years out, 3 years out, and then an emergency situation presents itself and all of a sudden it moves up into the current year and you have to kind of adjust some of these other projects. So yes, they can move around a little bit. This is ideally our priority list in the order that we feel they are most important. And I know things like the splash pad and the dog park and the pickleball courts, those are the top things that were came back in feedback from the community, because, and Dave and I have talked about this, upgraded lighting, upgraded restrooms, upgraded ball field dugouts. There are a lot of people that are very excited about those items, but not everybody gets excited about those items. So we tried to make sure that we incorporated the bigger projects from the master plan, you know, that reflects the community that participated in all of those surveys and in-person events that we held.
Is there any, I don't see anything related to like senior center or senior services or anything like that. Was that a consideration for you or the board? Or?
Yes, but that would be an operating and not capital.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Anybody else before we go back to Roger? Roger?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the capital and the operating, because I think those are two distinctly different budgets in some ways. The ones that are in the red that you're basically saying, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong here, that you'd love to do all of these projects, but without additional funding, that's not going to happen. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes.
Okay, capital. But operations wise, you could still run programs, but it would be in a less than desirable physical setting.
Yes. Yeah, it would definitely hinder our ability to grow.
Anyone else from council?
I'm curious. I see the pickleball courts are slated for 2029. I feel like when people fill out those surveys about what they want them now. I guess I'm curious how you. Oh, sorry, second time. Let me repeat. I see the pickleball courts are slated for 2029, and pickleball feels very trendy right now. Is that kind of, does that go into your sort of long-term game plan, to use a pun there? How relevant pickleball will be in 2029?
There's definitely, I'd say, mixed opinions when you talk to people around, you know, around communities.
Yeah, of course.
Looking at the national trends, I would say it's going to stick around for many years.
Great. And 4 to 6 courts, is that taking into account repurposing old tennis courts? Is that new land? Is that?
It does not include land acquisition, because we feel that we do have land available for that.
Yeah.
And it does not take into account resurfacing tennis courts, because we currently do not have any.
Yeah. Thank you.
Further from council?
Mike, can I just?
Sure.
So I kind of want to reemphasize some of the points that she made, just so council has kind of the context. Really happy she's gotten where she's gotten. As she noted, Rhonda and I started chewing through this stuff because our goal is to build this to the point where it becomes a part of our capital plan. And because our capital plan has worked pretty well to do the things exactly what you're already talking about. It's fluid. It allows for grants when they come up. You move stuff around, but you're working. She used the word, and she was intentionally using it. Framework for sustainable funding. Roger, he's being subtle, which I know is surprising. He's being subtle because what he's not actually saying is, where are we going to get the money? We're not to that point yet.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so we appreciate your subtleness because we don't have answers. We'd like to be able to answer that. I think it's going to take refinement of this because she's early stage still, as she said herself. This is early stage. It's getting it on paper, and then we start working it, right? You get it down, start working it, and a lot of these questions will get answered over time. And in this, I wanted to say this particular, like for Chris, I love that he's already embracing like 2029, we're going to have pickleball courts. Can we do it sooner? That's actually not what's built yet. Like, I mean, that's a decent starting point, you know, like she sort of stuck a flag in the ground to say, this is what we're shooting for, but we got a lot of groundwork to do between there and this. But the good news is, so here's the thing, right? She's demonstrated her financial limitations. We knew that, but she very nicely stated that sort of just how it is today, but that's irrespective of any of this. So she's barely scratching by before we even dig our teeth into some new stuff or better maintenance or upgrades. So that sounds daunting. But what I'll say is it's kind of pretty similar to what our utility funds had before we had the rate plan, the rate stabilization plan. It's very similar to the capital needs in general. It's also, so I think we've got the experience and the kind of the wherewithal to build a plan and then kind of really circle the wagons and say, all right, we know the path forward. Just like we did with downtown, we start with these big concepts and then we take to the lower level, closer to the ground and say, okay, let's refine our numbers. Let's figure out the locations. Because I had the same reaction you did. I'm like, TBD, does that mean it's going to be $1 million in land acquisition? And she's like, no, I don't think so. But she's also not promising that, right? Like at this point, she can't say that for sure. But she knows she's got a default of, I've got land. So that is something that over the course of time, I guess it's been good that council and Parks and Rec has invested in some land so that we have those opportunities for us. But I wouldn't rule out that there may be more land at some point we're going to need to buy or want to buy, or like we've done a million times, there's a strategic opportunity that pops up and we're like, this is too good a deal to pass up. So all of those things though, that sounds too fly by night unless it's rooted in something. It needs to be rooted in a plan, rooted in a framework. And that's kind of where we're trying to get her, rooted in the city's framework. And I've said it before, but fortunately it's an easy sell to most of you because you all said it to me first. Parks and Rec is kind of the next frontier. We've done such a great job with downtown. It's not done. It's always a work in progress. We've done a great job in the neighborhoods. It's not done. We still, but we think we could do more with our parks because we're such a special little community. We want to have special parks and recreation. And there are elements of it that absolutely are already there, but there are elements I think she would even admit are underfunded and probably underperforming. So the goal here is to raise the bar. It is going to take some time. We're committed to plowing through this year to sort of build the structure, build the ideas, and then, have the hard conversations with how do we finance this? And I will say already though, Rhonda and I have, and when we met with Angela, we were saying, look, I think from our perspective, we're already going to start planning to spend $200,000 that we have never spent for Parks and Rec out of our general fund to help sustain them even before the plan is done. Because there's enough needs here that we could, some of the maintenance stuff, for example, she's like 30,000 for this. Well, if we come up with $200,000 to kind of like get her going, and we feel like our plan, our budgets can afford that kind of a number. I mean, maybe that number, bridges more than we think. And if we do that every year, I can't guarantee this, but I guess we're making the commitment that we are going to up the ante, and that's going to include funding that we already get getting out of income taxes and general fund reserves and we will start this process now that we sort of have a path that we know we're heading down. So you will see some of that coming as well, irrespective of the bigger question of how do you really come up with the $7 million spread over 5 years? So that's kind of where we're at. I just want to set that context that I'm pleased with kind of where we're at. And this is the kind of stuff that we always want to rush because it's exciting, especially some of the new stuff. I have to tell you, this is tricky. And it's also going to take, I think it's important for you and the community to digest this as we go along. So, because at some point it could mean we need to raise money, which none of us like that option, but we're going to probably have to figure that out. And you don't want to do that just overnight. You want to have spent the time to build that case, show what you're doing, show what you're capable of. She and I have talked a lot about, hey, the downtown, one of the things that worked so good for us was those small wins early on and building the reputation of like, this is a new day for, because, you know, remember the downtown was like, oh, here we go again. They're going to redevelop the downtown. Sure they are. You know, the cynicism was pretty rampant in 2006, 2007. And we started to do some things. People were like, oh, maybe this is a new day. And I think I used that for her. I'm like, we need to show the new day Parks and Recreation. I mean, I think that's what we're hoping for. And unfortunately for her, I have one of those brains that offers a million ideas. So she had to sit there and she's like, okay, one more idea from you and that's it. So I appreciate that she's, you know, patient with me. And you know, like I said, we're trying to really integrate this in a way that will get what everybody would like. Goal, more to come. Stay tuned.
Further questions from anyone? This is informational, correct? Thank you, Angela.
Thank you, Angela.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Moving forward. Streets and sidewalks, no, I'm sorry, I had to put my glasses back on. Land Use Committee,
All right, I'll be calling the Land Use Committee to open, and we will be talking about the proposed surface easement agreement. Bridget.
In your committee, because it was approved.
I know, I'm so excited.
Yes, as you are aware, the city owns 266 North Water Street. It is scheduled for demolition. Actually, we are currently actively going through the permitting for that process, and that building coming down by the end of June. And the parcel will be cleared and remain in the city's ownership. John and Rita Kuhar own the property to the north of it, and one of their tenants uses the paved area that is actually on 266. Our demolition ordinance requires all pavement to be removed on a parcel. So the city has agreed to leave that pavement for use for his tenant to get in and out of the facility. However, we also needed an easement agreement put in place to ensure that he can have unfettered access to that in perpetuity. It's a surface easement because if the city needs to have any access or issues underground, we want to maintain that control. And so I am here before you to ask for approval for the enter into the easement agreement with emergency.
Any questions from council? Any questions or comments from the audience? Back to council. We have a
Move to
motion.
approve with emergency.
Seconded by Melissa. And all those in favor? Oh, wait a minute.
Oh.
We need comments. Any council comments? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? It passes.
okay, now streets and sidewalks, Mr. Sidoti.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We actually have 3 special event permits for the summer, and Bridget's already up there at the mic, so it's all you, Bridget. Oh, you didn't.
Just fun
Okay.
to have Eric will be here tonight, but his son has baseball. That I'm here, I will be more than happy to present.
You're pitching.
Yeah, well, I remember those little practices, they're long. So Brandon and Kent has submitted 2 special event permits. We will need separate votes on them, but I'm going to explain them together because they're virtually the same except for different times.
The first is a summer revival golden market hour. This is basically modeled after the vendor market that was hugely successful for them for Earth Day. This first event will happen on July 26th, and they did get affirmation from everyone in that area that they're in support of this. It'll be between Southwater and the drive aisle for Tree City Coffee. The same event, vendor market, will be also presented in the fall, the Fall Revival Harvest Vintage Market. That will be held on September 20th. And again, we received confirmation from all affected businesses that they were okay with the market. So I am here asking for approval for these event permits.
Any questions from council? Being none, any questions from the audience? Seeing none, back to council.
Move to approve with emergency.
Second.
Heidi, any further comments? Jack, any further comments?
No.
Anyone else? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay. Now we have Wizardly World. Are you coming up? I thought she was going to levitate, you know. Float out.
I didn't know I was presenting, so I was looking at my calendar to make sure I had the right date. Wizardly Weekend is coming upon us, and as in past years, we are closing a section of Erie Street, water to DeFeister, to accommodate for a vendor village, and so that is automatically approved because we did it in the past. But this year we're looking, we're working with Acorn Alley to add a second vendor area in the parking lot behind Laziza and fruit stand by the Scary Squirrel. So what we would like to do is close just that section of Berbick Way from the drive-through up to DePeister so that pedestrians can walk through Acorn Alley, into Acorn Plaza, onto Erie Street, into Dan Smith Park without any safety issues. So why are we going backwards, I guess would be one question that might come up, and that is because we keep trying to adjust to what the need is of this event. The footprint keeps changing. It used to be like Heritage Fest, then we were like, whoa, we don't need this much room. So with the new initiatives that Acorn Alley's been putting on with doing some of these things, we thought we would help and support that and send some of our extra vendors their way because we had more than we needed. And so that's all we need is just the approval to add that section on Berbick Way to the closure for this year.
Questions from council? Oh, sorry, Melissa, I didn't see.
Do we have the approvals from of the businesses that it affects?
Yes, I did the fastest petition run ever. And I sent a couple text messages and emails and sent copies of all that to the city. So
nobody, there's no, okay,
there was not one beef.
great, thank you.
Other questions? Any questions from the audience? Being none, back to council.
Move to approve
Second.
with emergency. No, I think you've proven time and time again that you put a lot of thought and effort into road closures and event planning and safety. I know that the Berbick Way walking sometimes got a little exciting for our little wizards. So it'll be nice, that added level of safety will be really appreciated, I'm sure, from the folks participating. So thanks.
There was a year where a limo pulled up and people got married in Dragon Alley too, so that could happen.
So I just want to say thank you for, the usual care and preparation for an event that is beloved by many.
Further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. That's it. Okay, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we have an executive session.
Yeah, I'd like to move an executive session to discuss appointments of board commission positions.
Second. Second. Roll call.
Ms. Selko,
Yes.
Mr. Clapper,
Yes.
Mr. De Leon,
Yes.
Mr. Hook,
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer Bish,
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti.
Yes.
Mr. Turner, Mr. Amrine.
Yes.
Need a motion to excuse Mr. Turner,
Second.
second by Jack. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We'll go back in our executive session. So, oh, yeah. Yeah, I got that.
First, second, that's the.
I think that's right. Yes.
In the past, every so often where the fourth was, we kind of
Yeah.
slid
moved
things.
it
but
around.
That's good.
All right, we're back in public session. Came out of, there was really no conclusion of the discussion on boards of commission. That we're adjourned. Thank you.